January 3rd, 2023. That was the day I uploaded a video titled Elsagate the Dark Side of YouTube Kids, and from that video forward I realized the kind of content I covered in said video was still prevalent on YouTube, and so I continued making my whole Elsagate series of videos. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to go on what I felt like was a journey making this series of videos, and I think the community of creators also covering Elsagate really made me feel like I was part of some bigger movement speaking out against content I truly feel is harmful, and that's actually pretty freaking cool. Anyways, I'm making this video to put a bow in my series and to try to dive deeper into why I feel this kind of content is harmful to a young developing mind. And so without any further ado, let's start at the very beginning by talking about what the frick even an Elsagate is and this idea of an Elsagate pipeline. If you need a reminder of what Elsagate content is, it's pretty much inappropriate videos featuring characters popular with kids alluding to, or actually containing loose themes either within the thumbnail or the video itself. And throughout my series of videos, we went over a myriad of channels uploading this kind of content. In this video, I won't be covering these channels to the extent I did throughout my previous 4 videos, but I really want you to understand what an Elsagate video is, just in case you're new here. So keep this notion of these kinds of videos being inappropriate and even against YouTube's community guidelines in some cases in mind. And if you need to see some examples, I have over 30 minutes of content. But anyways, if you're watching this video right now, that means you read the title, and it of course contains the word pipeline. So what is a pipeline in this context? Obviously I'm not talking about literal pipes here, but this vague idea I want to flesh out of the Elsagate pipeline is similar in concept to the alt-right pipeline. And of course this video is not going to be political, but let me explain what that is real quick, just so you understand the metaphor. You feel what I'm saying, pre? To be honest, I feel like Wikipedia explains this idea best, so I'm just gonna quote what it says there. Quote, the alt-right pipeline, also called the alt-right let me retake that. Quote, the alt-right pipeline, also called the alt-right rabbit hole, is a proposed conceptual model regarding internet radicalization toward the alt-right movement. It describes a phenomenon in which consuming provocative right-wing political content such as anti-feminist or anti-SJW ideas gradually increases exposure to the alt-right or similar far-right politics. In other words, like the definition says, it's essentially a rabbit hole you go down by consuming right-wing content, and as a result of the consumption of that type of content, little by little it exposes you to far-right politics such as fascism, neo-Nazism, and a lot of other things I will most certainly not be getting into in this video. That's a whole other rabbit hole for the political channels to cover, but anyways. The Elsagate pipeline is something conceptually similar, and this inappropriate content, which I know is aimed at kids due to the content being so mind-numbing, childish, and I cannot see any reasonable adult or even teen being remotely interested in this kind of content featuring characters from franchises that are mainly popular with children, and I believe to an extent Elsagate videos can act as a starting point to them going down other rabbit holes of inappropriate content outside of mere Elsagate videos on YouTube. I now want to talk about something that may seem completely unrelated to the topic at hand, but it goes with it. You feel what I'm saying? That being the topic of the NoFap community, which is basically, for those who live under a freaking rock, NoFap is pretty much an anti-initiative movement, and just one search on like any platform is gonna bring up a ton of results. And so through that fact alone, we can see that there is a market for this kind of content, meaning there's hundreds if not thousands or millions of people who find the idea of quitting that, you know, you feel what I'm saying, to be appealing. And now this all begs the question, why would somebody wanna quit being the downstairs soldier? Wink wink wink. I'm sure everybody has their own reasons, but you know, getting real for a second, the reason why I would want to quit that is because I feel like it gets in the way of productivity, and from making videos like this that make me feel a sense of purpose and make me feel like, you know, I don't know, that I'm not just a hunk of flesh on the freaking earth meant just to die or something like that. Also, you know, after doing it, I just feel ashamed and bad, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one with these negative feelings towards this after having done it or whatever. So this brings us to the next section of the video. You feel what I'm saying? edit, you know, feel what I'm saying. According to survey research done by Survey Center on American Life, the findings from March 2022 I'm about to go over are, quote, not conclusive evidence that pornography is causing these problems. Rather, these results show a strong relationship between pornography use and a variety of negative social conditions and circumstances, with said problems being loneliness, insecurity, dissatisfaction with personal appearance. Men who watch pornography regularly are also more likely to report they frequently feel insecure. 74% of men who report having watched pornography in the past 24 hours say they have felt self-conscious or insecure in the past week. Only 45% of men who say they never have watched pornography say the same. Taking a look at the graph accompanying the study, we can see at the bottom the negative things people feel, with the number on the left side being the percentage of people feeling it, whether it be loneliness, self-consciousness, or unhappiness on how they look. And also you can pause the video and take a look for yourself if you would like to. But now I'd like to reiterate that this survey doesn't give a super broad perspective across millions of different people or something crazy like that. Quote, interviews were conducted among a random sample of 2007 adults, age 18 and up, living in the United States. But regardless of the inconclusive nature of the study, I believe it gives us a glimpse into the bigger picture and the negative effects adult content could potentially have on someone. And if the consumption of this type of content affects adults in this way, then imagine how this type of content could potentially affect a young developing mind. With all of that being said, I now want to Porky Pig moment. And now with all of that being said, I now want to talk about some of the comments I've seen under some of my videos talking about some of the more NSFW topics, basically sharing stories and talking about personal experiences they had involving whatever type of content is being discussed in my video. Before we go into these comments though, I want to acknowledge that they're not verifiable in terms of whether or not they're true. And I also think it's important to recognize that some of you guys might not be telling the truth over there. However, there's one interesting thing that I did take note of, regardless of whether or not some of these stories are fake. Throughout some of these comments, there are indeed similar themes, making me inclined to believe that there is some truth to at least some of them. If there's one thing that I see come up a lot throughout them, is this notion of and how stuff like Elsagate and Roblox condos have caused that. And it's not only under my videos, but it's also under other people's videos who have covered similar stuff. And you know, it really makes you think like, there might be something to this. There's more than one person, you know, talking about this. There's multiple people talking about it and how this kind of content has caused it. It made me a bit curious. So that is the topic now that I want to dive into. Let's talk about it, bro. Let's talk about it. What the frick is about? Before I dive into this topic, I want to say there's some controversy and lots of nuance when it comes to this term. So first and foremost, upon my research, it seems like is more of a construct than anything, and there doesn't seem to be one agreed upon definition for the term, but rather it's a combination of different things like exaggerated behavior, intense fantasies, upon many other things. On top of that, there seems to be a lot of debate around whether or not it should be a clinical diagnosis used by mental health professionals. And now this is as far as I'm gonna go talking about the definition of this term, but the point of me bringing up this concept is to showcase that regardless of whether or not these comments I've seen about being because of this content seemingly aimed at kids, or have kids who interact with said content containing adult themes such as Elsagate and Roblox condos are true, I believe to some extent they do have some potential to cause some sort of unwanted effects, perhaps even some form of even if it is to a small degree or only to a certain extent. I believe it's still important to talk about because I also believe it could lead to a deeper discussion about this unhealthy addiction to porn that's so prevalent today, and how because of the negative effects porn can have on adults, as we discussed earlier, kids should most definitely not be exposed to this kind of content in any way. And now, to echo a sentiment fellow creator Raymundo2112 expressed, Elsagate videos can be a gateway drug of sorts, leading young viewers of said type of content to go deeper down the rabbit hole of NSFW videos. And I definitely agree with this, and I also think that it's this kind of stuff that can plant seeds and stick with you. And if there's actually kids watching this garbage, that's even worse. Kids are pure and innocent, and to have that taken away from them in any capacity should be avoided at all costs. And these concepts of relationships, as the existence of adult content and the harm it can have on somebody, should be taught to them when they're ready. But despite how I may feel on this, unfortunately I think with the way things are going and all of the content out there that contain touches of themes, and I'm not just talking about the occasional adult joke that kind of flies over kids' heads. I'm talking about how some of these dang kids nowadays be looking up to people like Ice Spice and Sexy Red, and kids should definitely not be listening to their music. Point is, unfortunately, I don't think this kind of stuff is going away anytime soon. In fact, I think stuff like Elsagate or Roblox condos will find other ways to thrive or evolve. That's not to say I won't speak out against it, or that we shouldn't fight against it, or anything like that. It's just the reality of things, and we can even see just through Raymundo's videos about Incredigate how there's yet another YouTube rabbit hole that runs super deep containing NSFW content aimed at kids. To be honest, I really don't know how to end off this video. I guess the point of this video was basically just to wrap up this whole Elsagate thing. All in all, I truly do believe that this kind of content negatively affects younger viewers who are potentially watching it. I do believe that it can potentially be a pipeline of sorts, leading them to get curious about other types of NSFW adult, like actual adult content and stuff like that. And that's kind of it. That's kind of all I gotta say about this topic. I'm done talking about it in this aspect. I definitely do have other videos that I'm planning on making about other disturbing things that I found online. I recently dropped an ambient music album. You know, a lot of the music in my videos, I feel like they're more like on the ambient whatever side, so I just decided to drop an album on my second channel where I just post my music. So if you're interested in that, feel free. But that's pretty much all I gotta say. Deuces. Shout out to all my Patreons too, bro. You guys are great. You guys make this channel run, and you guys make this dream of mine closer and closer to being a 100% reality. I hope you guys can't hear the background noise talking like shut up. But yeah, thank you guys again, and see you later, bro.